Hello again, it's Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks who make the race cars go around the racetrack. Now, if you like what we're doing here on Crew Call, like, share, subscribe, spread the gospel of what we're doing here on Crew Call. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief, Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Came off a great weekend at Pocono. My type of weekend. Yeah. Strategies play in. You can flip the stages. This was like, Pocono is like a road course race that goes in ovals.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of call it backwards. And we saw that. I mean, obviously, fuel savings and everything else.
You had that race calling backwards. I want to talk a little bit about the crew chief's job as an adapter, the driver's job as an adapter. You have a strategy, and let's face it. Chase Briscoe got out of pit road sooner than he needed to get out of pit road. Whatever happened there, he got out of pit. You're out there on the racetrack with less fuel than you have to make it to the end. The adaptation that Chase did, the adaptation that they did with spotting, with everything else, was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think Chase Briscoe probably learned some things to put in his notebook for coming back to Pocono.
I think so, too. You mentioned this in our post-race show because slow down and your lap times go faster.
Sometimes you slow down to go faster. And he talked about that a little bit afterwards, that he's known for overdriving his corners, and that backing his corners up put him in a position where he hit his marks, where, all of a sudden you start lifting 100 feet earlier and rolling speed down in there and the car's under control, you get back to gas a little bit earlier. Like you can find ways of making speed. I've seen drivers, I've been around situations where brake failures have turned them into really good race car drivers at racetracks. So, kudos to Chase for figuring, and everybody. Yeah. Everybody within that 19 team. I think Chase was supposed to wait on fuel.
Yep.
Kind of forgot that, took off. They had an 11-second stop. In the last stop, they were already a little deficient on fuel because James Small made a really good call
earlier on
to pit him when he saw debris on a racetrack, got him to pit road, cycled him forward. That's what got him there. He and Miles Stanley, the Josh Berry, yeah. and Chase Briscoe, they were the two that pitted under green at like 73 and 74.
Yeah.
Then we had a caution at 75. So cycled themselves forward. Great call by James there, but kind of a faux pas on the last one, that green flag cycle. The 19 left without being full of fuel and didn't have what they had to make to the end, but got a caution. That got him closer. And then Chase Briscoe did a great job of just manipulating the race with speed. I mean, he was saving fuel, but he was going fast. So love what they put together there.
It's fascinating listening to Denny Hamlin's radio. Denny, the great runner out of fuel. We go back to Michigan when he did that to William Byron, and you're listening to the radio, and it's like, keep the pressure on him. There's no way he can make it. He's getting closer, and with like 5 laps to go, they said, he's down to within a half a lap of making it. Denny, you got to turn the heat up on him.
Yeah, I almost think racing your teammate hurt him in that.
I think so.
Because they probably knew too much.
I wondered about that.
Or thought they knew too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think if that's William Byron out there that Denny's chasing, trying to run out of fuel, Denny puts more pressure on him. I almost think that Denny kind of became, I just need not to be, because what happens here at Pocono, and you had Blaney there as well.
Right, absolutely.
And I think in ways, Denny's almost defensive to, I don't need to try to make a move on the 19 that puts me where the 12 can take advantage of me, because I think he's going to run out of gas. So I think if he felt like he had to get by him, it's a different strategy for Denny. Just interesting.
So. Fascinating stuff. It really, truly is. A couple of other,
Yeah, no, you talk. Go ahead. Dale Jr.
I know. That's it. How about
first
that?
Time, you love your first-time crew chief winners.
Chiefs, exactly. Dale Jr., and I love this. Crew chiefing for Connor Zilic. And the whole debate is what he knew, what he didn't know. I will say this. I was standing down at the base of the pit box, and that was a nervous crew chief making the call to bring Connor Zilic in. I don't know where Marty was. I don't know where the war room was. I don't know what Steve Letarte was telling him, but I do know who made that call to come down pit road when they did was the crew chief, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and the relief factor on that young man after making that call was huge.
Yeah, one of those situations. I think this is a great opportunity in several facets for Dale Jr. to be here because, one, Connor Zilic got to learn from Dale Jr. during the race.
Yes.
Like now you have one-on-one with Dale Jr. during a race at a place that's big drafting place, how to side draft, how to restart, learn so much from that. I think Dale Jr. got to see the management role that a crew chief is, because he did. He had Marty Lindley in his ear. He had the engineer next to him, and he had Letarte. Letarte's not lacking for words,
No, not at all. He ain't a little.
He's a TV personality. He said he actually sat back there, but he had, that's what the crew chief has to do, is take all of that information in and kind of lead the pack, and they did a good job of it.
Dale had a team meeting yesterday with the team, and he said, I was able to see some things behind the curtain that I haven't seen before.
It's enlightening.
I think that is great stuff. It really is. Also want to note this. Junior Motorsports, 6 races this year. They put all 4 cars in the top 10. That was the 6th race. Pretty impressive across the board, what Dale's got going on.
Yeah, they've had really good speed. Good
stuff. Also, an attaboy to Dylan Capello and Lane Riggs picking up the win in the Truck Series on Friday night. All right, here's what we're going to do today. We're going up to Team Penske. Brian Wilson, he is crew chief for Austin Cindric. We're going to talk to him next.
The NASCAR channel is available now on Tubi. 24/7 news, documentaries, with access to the exclusive NASCAR Vault. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free, only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Let's get to it. Right up to Team Penske in Mooresville, North Carolina. Joining us now is the crew chief for Austin Cindric on that number 2 car that we always keep an eye on. It is Brian Wilson. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you on. 10th place run at Pocono. I know it's been a little bit of struggle results after that Talladega win. How nice was it to get back into the top 10 and put together a solid race at Pocono?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. That top 10 was our first top 10 since our win. So,
Wow.
For us, we felt like we had been through a little bit of a slump. We felt like we had speed that we could have run up there. We did it several times, but whether it was self-induced issues or flat tires or pit road issues, we just haven't been putting results on the board. So it definitely has been a focus. A lot of what I've talked to the guys about is we've got to make sure that we put a complete race together, put some results on the board, finish where we deserve to or think we should run. And going into the playoffs, we've got to make sure we clean up the errors that are hurting ourselves. So, it wasn't a great result, but it was a good result.
Second year in a row, you 3-stopped this race, and to do that, you stayed out at lap 58 when most of the field came to pit road, really cycled yourself forward 26 laps into the run. I think there was a couple cautions, so it might not have been that many green flag laps. But what's the stress in that call?
Yeah, stress was the fact that it didn't work the year before. We got a lot of cautions that hurt our strategy. I had told myself going into the race, I was like, I don't know that I'm going to necessarily do that again. So you worry about those things. How is it going to play out? How are the cautions going to fall? Fortunately in this one, we didn't necessarily get the caution at the perfect time like some guys did in stage 3, but it at least was a caution that helped us. It was after we had pit. And I talked to Austin before the race. We were going to be in a situation where I thought we would have to be, at a tire deficit. I didn't want to be on a huge tire deficit. I thought up to 10 laps probably was acceptable. And I feel like we kept him in that situation most of the race, and he did a great job holding on to track position.
Okay, the cycle. I want to get into this one because there were one of your cohorts that took advantage of it, but we saw McDowell have a tire failure. We didn't know which it was, but a couple cars, a race winner and one of your teammates actually came to pit road. That 74, 73, 74, were you not quite to your window? Were you not at a point where was a discussion? What was the discussion in the box?
Yeah, so that honestly was a little bit earlier than what we wanted to pit, but it was a win. Again, I was trying to keep in mind, if we pit there and we flip the stage, how many laps on tires are we going to have starting stage 3? So at that point, you're going through in your mind, do I want to gamble right here? Do I think the caution's going to come out? I think Miles was one of the ones that failed to pit road right away. It was a great call, kind of like a road course when you think a caution's going to come out. So it's one of those situations where I'm trying to weigh out, do I really want to have, I think it was going to be greater than 15 laps on my tires at that point. Is that where I want to be? How much do tires matter? I felt like we had seen where 6 or 7 laps on tires could matter. But obviously that place is about track position. So, probably not as aggressive as I could have been, but it still worked out for us.
But you already had track position at that point.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a different call for you than it is for somebody who's running 15th, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what you have to weigh out, right? Like, how risky do you want to be when you already have track position?
Yeah, neat stuff. I always get fascinated by it. And Pocono, to me, is one of the most fascinating races to call. It's just so many dynamic things, and one little change can really turn things up. So, but let's just move forward here as well. Let's look into Atlanta this weekend. Your driver, obviously, this style of racing is very, very good for him. Just your sense, your optimism as you head to Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, obviously confidence is high. If you go back to last year, both races, we qualified top 10, finished top 10. The first race this year, qualified top 10, and we were in position, right? That's what you hope.
Yeah.
So, we feel like we should be able to do the same thing. It's the same tires, what it has been, a lot of the same aero package. So, we feel very confident we should be able to go, and if we do our jobs, have a shot at it.
So I went back and kind of rewatched the end of that one just to understand what happened, because I kind of forgot. I know you haven't, but I did. That one kind of ended under the lights in the spring. How does this being a Saturday night race in end of June, how is it raced differently than that? And then the next question is, there's always a chance the afternoon thunderstorms and lightning bolts keep us from racing. How different would it be to have to go Sunday?
Yeah, so Atlanta, we've discussed with the conditions that we're going to have, it's going to be hot, really hot air temp during the day, but it's going into the night. So what does that do as far as, the air temp, the amount of grip that you have? What does it do for the track temp? I think we've got some decent notes from last year. The summer race was really hot. We can look at, both races last year. We had some air temp differences. So I think we've got a decent notebook on. But it's never apples to apples. It's going to be different conditions, it's different situations. So, we're trying to piece through that, and I think that's the biggest question for us.
How has that track evolved, and what do you think you're going to see with the racetrack? Because it bakes in the mid-Georgia sun, and it's baked all this spring in the mid-Georgia sun.
Yeah, I mean, typically tracks don't gain grip. Typically bumps. So you've got to expect that you're probably going to have less grip. We're trying to take that into account. I think Atlanta is really unique. It's kind of like a speedway, but handling matters. And you think back to the old Daytona when it was really rough. You had to worry about handling then. I know I'm talking about some ancient history, but it's kind of got that feel where you're trying to balance it out and figure out how much grip you need to put in the car. But obviously qualifying is super important. Pit stall selection is super important. So you've got to be able to be really slick for qualifying.
All 4 cars in your building, including the Wood Brothers program, with victories already locked through. Does that allow the teamwork piece to kind of play a little more solid and not be kind of errant because somebody needs a different agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. You know how it is when you're racing with all the guys here at Penske. You're kind of like brothers, right? And you all compete and you all try to help each other, and you want to see your brothers succeed. But you're also racing and competing. So when everyone's got to win, it kind of calms things down. Everyone knows, okay, we're all in a good position. This time of year, desperation can creep in if you don't have a win. So. No, we're all in a good spot where we can just go race and help each other and hopefully see a Penske car win in Atlanta.
How much with the handling effects of Atlanta, how much can you line up and control a race?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough a situation where if you are in the lead, you're probably going to get pushed out. You're probably going to have to defend runs. Talladega and Daytona, it seems like if you're in the lead, you can kind of control the runs a little more. It happens slower. So it's really hard. It's hard. But it's nice when you at least see somebody friendly up front there to where you can try to work with them. And hopefully if you do give up the lead, you're giving it to a teammate.
Brian, Todd and I were talking just a little bit ago. You have qualifying on Friday night at 5. The garage doesn't open, I think, till mid-afternoon, 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. What is that window like? What are you, you're just going to go out and explore Atlanta all Saturday morning and chill out and kind of watch this? Or what's that window of time like?
Yeah, honestly, it's probably going to be a little bit of shifting gears for me. As soon as we get done, when I know what pit stall we have, I talk to the pit crew, let them know what to expect. Anymore, I try to do a lot of my pre-race meeting through text message to the guys before they get there. So I'll communicate a lot of that to them. But the shifting gears part of it is, that's a lot of time. I'll probably be in the hotel room. I'll look through there's a stack of aero reports that I want to read. So I'll try to go through that. We've got a couple road courses coming up. So, I'll probably be looking forward to, hey, what did we learn at Mexico? What are we going to apply at Chicago or Sonoma, and try to shift gears back and forth. But once I leave the hotel, it's got to be all on Atlanta.
So you brought it up. It's a great transition because I had in my notes back-to-back street course, road course. Is that easier or logistically challenging from a parts standpoint and a preparation standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's challenging. You're building basically the same type of cars. With Sonoma being on the West Coast, we've talked a lot about, do we want to do a swap out? We haven't really made a decision on that yet. But the cars are going to have to leave early no matter what, going out to Sonoma. So, yeah, it's definitely a challenge. It is nice just mentally. You're building the same type of car. You're working on the same type of things. Chicago, it's the same tire as Mexico. So we're building off of what we did at Mexico. So there's parts of it that are easier, but the logistics definitely can be a challenge.
The schedule: Chicago, Sonoma, Dover, then a place called Indianapolis. Pretty important for the boss man up there. Where's that on your radar screen now?
Yeah, I mean that's as important as it gets, right? For a regular season place that you want to be the guy that runs well in front of Roger, right? You want to put on a great show, prove what you guys can do, within our team. It's super important for everybody here. Put a lot of emphasis on that one and try to execute.
What kind of plays into Indianapolis? We used to think back in the day that Pocono did, but the tunnel bumps are so different than what you'll see up there. What do you carry forward to kind of build off of for Indianapolis?
Yeah, it's tough. Todd, you'll understand this conversation is within our group. We talk about in a silo, or are they going to be related to something else? And do you have to build them on their own? Historically, it used to be you could take a Pocono setup and go to Indy and be fairly close, but it's really not that way anymore. The bumps in the tunnel turn just separate that track from Indy. So now at this point, you're really just looking at, how do I get through the corners as well as I can? How do you trim out? How stiff can you be at Indy? How do you make sure that you've got as much downforce as you need for the corners, but don't make it too draggy? And then you've got to nail the strategy there.
Yeah, the strategy piece was the next piece I was going to say, but that was another opportunity for pitting under green and not going a lap down towards the crew chiefs. A lot of different operations or options going forward. 68 points behind Logano for 10th in points right now, which is where they start playing payoff points for regular season. Are you focused on points, or are you just focused on playoff points at this point?
Yeah, it's a tough situation where not only is it, fringe from getting a playoff point if we get into the top 10, we also have a split between owners' points and drivers' points. We're closer to the top 10 in owners.
Oh, that makes sense. Coda?
Right? Yep, Coda. So I've got to pay attention to that. Obviously, I've got experience with that from the Xfinity days. We're in a situation where, yes, we could get one or two playoff points by getting ourselves into the top 10. 5 playoff points is way more important. Right. So at Michigan a couple of weeks ago, I took a shot. We tried to win a stage there. Didn't end up getting it. But I think it was a worthy gamble. Right. If you're in a situation where you think you can get that, then you go for it. But ultimately going for wins is where we're at right now.
Yeah, indeed. Final question for you here before we cut you loose. Your dad, Steve, was maybe one of the original engineers, or certainly an early engineer in the sport. Back in the early 90s, came down, was on that Skull Bandit team. I know you have such a strong relationship with your dad. What is that relationship like, and what do you think his take is as an engineer on NASCAR 2025? I mean, he was there in the infancy of it. It has changed a lot. What's his take on that, you think?
No, he still really enjoys it. He's a great resource for me. I call him every Monday when I leave the shop. I give him a call and we run through how things went. He's always really optimistic, so that's always nice to hear that side of it. But he, with his technical mind, I can run things by him and say, hey, here's some things that we're weighing out. Here's what we're debating on. He thought Mexico was really interesting, talking through what the altitude would do. How that changes things. So, he's a guy that I can bounce those ideas off of and just brainstorm with.
I love that. I absolutely do. I'll tell you, good stuff, that's for sure. Brian, we're looking for some more good stuff in Atlanta and throughout the season for you guys. We appreciate the time, and we wish you well as we continue on here.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Brian Wilson joining us from Team Penske. Stay with us. More Crew Call in just a moment.
NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi. Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Crew Call rolling along here on the Motor Racing Network. Love chatting with Brian Wilson, and he said a word. A lot of times listening to an interview, when you get a little emotion out of something, you're like, okay, there's something there. He said, Team Penske, we've all got wins. We're not in panic mode. Okay, my question is, Todd, is there panic mode in the garage now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I knew the answer to that one.
There's what, 11 winners?
Yes.
They don't have panic.
Correct.
And then there's Chase Elliott, who has 140-some lap cushion.
Right.
They don't have panic.
But boy, after that.
So the 45 team,
Yep.
Tyler Reddick, they don't think they have panic, but they're anxious.
Okay.
Because they're still 100 points above the cut line.
Yeah. You're three digits above the cut line.
You are, and you got 3 positions behind you. But we've got 2 speedway races and 3 road course races coming.
That's the problem.
I mean, I could paint a picture that has 16 winners this year.
Yep.
So do I think there's a lot of anxiousness, and I think anybody that's behind Tyler Reddick is in panic mode, because I think everybody, even Chris Buescher, even Alex Bowman, they don't feel they have to know that their positions are in jeopardy of winners. Yeah,
you look at that point margin, and I've said this all along. We have 2 drafting tracks, so anything can happen there.
And one's the last race, right, so you never know.
You can't rely on that at all.
Right.
Okay, you got to have a buffer in there. But I always think about road course racing. We get a late race caution. You might be running for the lead, and you get ran off the racetrack. There's 35 points right there that you could lose in turn 1 at Watkins Glen.
Oh, and by the way, can Daniel Suarez, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs?
Yes, they can.
I mean, can Brad Keselowski?
Anywhere.
Can Kyle Busch? I'm just rattling off the first names that come to mind. So can Ricky Stenhouse Jr.? I mean,
so Brian has no panic, but everyone else, pretty much everyone else does.
I feel like panic is definitely a word we've got right now.
All right, our friends at Goodyear want to talk to or want to preview what's coming up. Atlanta this weekend, crew chief. What do we have for Atlanta?
The first opportunity to relieve your panic is what Atlanta is. You look at Atlanta stage breaks. I think 60, 160, total races 260. So we've got a 60 lap run to start with. I think the fuel window is going to be right around 70. So that's within a fuel window. You can go all the way there. That first stage, I don't see any need to save fuel. I don't see any need to do anything out of the ordinary. Mm-hmm. Now, if a caution comes, you might. I mean, this is a summer race at Atlanta, and does it happen Saturday night? Sunday could be different, but that first stage, I feel like the 4 tires you started on, you're going to run that all the way through that stage. If a caution comes out, you probably. I mean, there's going to be a peel off, so I think a lot of guys would come in a caution just because of handling woes. Keep in mind, there's no practice here. All we do is qualify on Friday, and you race on Saturday. So if there's a caution, I think the good years will come into play. We saw that out of Ryan Blaney last year. Carson Hocevar spun him late in the race. He put 4 tires on, drove back to the front. That's going to play in. As talk to Brian Wilson off camera a little bit, but that may play in. Stage 2 and stage 3, 100 laps. Farther, it's about a fuel window and a half.
Yeah, fuel and a half is interesting.
So you're going to have to be full of fuel. I think at the stage breaks, you're going to put 4 tires, fill it with fuel. Or you might not if you want to make some track position, because that's that whole fuel tax thing that Letarte talks about.
Everybody else will be putting 4 in fuel.
Everybody will be waiting on fuel. So you might have an opportunity to cycle yourself forward and pay your fuel stop later. I do think, as I look at that, if you're going to be having a dump, if it goes green in stage 2 or stage 3, 2 tires comes into play.
Yeah.
If you have cautions, then fuel only becomes a legitimate call, because you don't. It's going to be how much fuel you've got to get to the end of the stage. So if I've got to dump 10 gallons, that's 5 seconds of plug-in time. I can put 2 right side tires on them at a time. If I only need 6 gallons, then that's 3 seconds. I'm going to have to wait to do tires. Those are all the decisions that these crew chiefs will make. And we don't know whether the track's worn out. We may want to give up that time to have the fresh Goodyear stuck on this car and take the time to put 2 tires on in the green flag cycle. So all going to be interesting as to how the cautions play and what we actually see out of what the sun's done to this Georgia racetrack.
How this track is aged, that's for sure. That preview of Atlanta is presented by Goodyear. Quality from the track to the street. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. So looking for a great weekend in Atlanta. There's part of us from our team are headed north. The NASCAR Racing Network, 12:30 on Saturday afternoon. We're going to be at Lime Rock Park up in Connecticut for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Lunai 150, and then the Motor Racing Network takes over 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Arkham Menard Series racing from Lime Rock. So looking forward to that. I'm in the short track world. I'm a track chaser. I like going to new racetracks and get to add Lime Rock Park. I've never been up there, so looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to what this weekend brings, and a great event up there for those guys. A new one. So we'll see who prevails in sorting out the new venue.
And some interesting talent behind the wheel as well. Cam Waters, Jordan Taylor, and
people bring in the road course ringers.
It is going to be great. Our friends at the Performance Racing Network have all the coverage this weekend from Atlanta, from Echo Park Speedway,
formerly known as Atlanta
Motor Speedway. So we appreciate Brian Wilson from up at Team Penske joining us. More important though than all of that, thank you for joining us this time here on Crew Call on the Motor Racing Network.